All right, and welcome back to TWiP. I am your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Joining me today to discuss the world of photography and the happenings therein are my friends, Mr. Yevgeny Chabatarov and Mr. Craig Colvin. Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys back on. Craig, I want to start with you because you haven't been on in a while. What's going on? And you're like my neighbor. You're literally like a few minutes away. So,
I know, but we're both so busy, hardly ever see each other.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I did want to comment. I think this is my 7th time on TWiP, but it's the first time with video. And I was thinking, since you had met me, there were some annotations next to my name saying I have a face for radio or something. So I'm glad to actually.
Hey, that ain't my fault, man. Blame Suzanne Llewellyn. That's her. She's the puppet master.
Yeah, it's just worked out that way. So.
Yeah. So what's been going on? Here you got gallery. Evgeny, what are you doing?
I'm taking a selfie.
Nice.
The selfie has invaded TWiP. Look at that. You can't get away from it. You cannot get away. So what's going on, Craig? You got gallery showings? Well, you're just setting the world on fire, right?
Well, so first of all, I've been traveling a lot. In September, I went to Photoshop World. I took a workshop with Kim Weston, Edward Weston's grandson, up at Wildcat Ranch. I went to Rome for 10 days.
Nice.
I think I've been traveling 19 of the last 27 days and taking photographs wherever I go. So it's been great. And then, yes, I've had a lot of my images are being exhibited in October. I have 4 different gallery exhibits going on. A couple here locally in Palo Alto, one up in Eugene, Oregon, and one in Miami, Florida.
That's cool. Yeah, you're gonna have to give us a link to those so that we can, because your work is just outstanding, and people need to see it. So
well, thanks.
Yeah, we'll put a link to some of your stuff in the notes, and spread the word, and you'll probably get more work from that. So
there you go. Great.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to the show, man.
Glad to be here.
All right, my other buddy, Mr. Yevgeny Chabatarov. Hey, man, what's going on with that bright red? That's got to be a 500px shirt, is it?
It is. Of course it is. Yeah. This is like the official attire, right? Yeah. Well, the things are pretty good. I was actually traveling right beside your house a couple of weeks ago, going from San Francisco to Portland to Seattle to Yellowstone and then to Denver.
Yeah, I was following you online, man.
Yeah. Mostly posting photos on Instagram, and then just kind of like if I had time to edit some photos, posting that on 500px. But it's kind of like it's pretty gruesome. It takes a lot of time. You're driving a lot, and then you are waking up at like 5 a.m. for the sunrise shots.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi in some places, or like really wonky Wi-Fi in other places. The usual. So it's.
And the people that are sitting in traffic listening to this on their way to their cube job, are like, really? That sounds like a dream to be able to go someplace with no Wi-Fi? That's a feature.
It should be a feature until you need it.
Until you need it.
Yeah, but in the end, lots of gorgeous sunrises and sunsets. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that stuff because one of the stories, as you've seen in the notes, is about that kind of photography and like sort of traveling in national parks and that sort of thing. So I'm eager to pick your brain about that.
Right.
All right. So just quickly a recap of what's new in my world. So Photo Plus Expo is coming up really soon, the end of October. So October 29th through November 1st at the Javits Center in New York City. I'll be there doing interviews from the Panasonic booth. So if you're in New York and you're planning on going to the expo, please stop by and say hello. I'd love to meet you. Also, TWiP is giving away a Panasonic Lumix GM5, which is that little tiny Micro Four Thirds camera that they have out. They released the GM1 last year, and this is the GM5. I don't know where the other ones went in between there, but the GM5 is out. It's really cool, and I'm gonna pry it out of my hands and give it to somebody in New York, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff. I'm working on some other things to add into a huge prize package that will be insane, hopefully. So anyway, definitely check that out, and you can register to win that camera over on our website at thisweekinphoto.com. Just go to the events area, and you'll see Panasonic Photo Plus event there. Just click on that, and it has a little thing in there where you can register. It takes 2 seconds to register, and you get on the list, and we'll randomly pick somebody, and they'll have a new camera. Then the other thing I'm doing is in October, next month, the beginning of October, October 9th, Rob Knight is coming to the area to give a speech at my hangout. Actually, it's a workshop at the TWiP October Hangout. It's going to be on landscape and nature photography. So this is going to be an interesting hangout. Craig, I know you've been to these hangouts before.
I'm signed up for this one, too.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting because we're serving wine, cheese, crackers, and they got prizes, all kinds of stuff. So we're stepping it up a notch.
Nice.
No more Kool-Aid. We're going with the wine. So fermented Kool-Aid. So cool. All right, guys. Before we jump into the show, I want to thank our newest sponsor for This Week in Photo, and that's our good friends over at Sticky Albums. All right, real quick, before we dive into the news, just you guys may have seen it that we recently relaunched TWiP, basically went from one show to multiple shows. It's got a brand new site and all that, and it's been really well received so far. So the latest,
it looks
great.
Craig? Yeah, it still has that new website smell too. It's really
does.
Nice.
It does. Unfortunately, you know how that goes. I'll get sick of it in about a year, and then I'll have to change it. But that's the miracle of WordPress. I could do that. But anyway, so one of the latest episodes of TWiP Talks, that's the new show that kind of takes all the interviews that we used to put inside of TWiP. They now have their own feed now. The latest one is with Michael Greco. So Michael Greco is a Los Angeles-based commercial and celebrity photographer, and he and I sat down just to specifically talk about how he archives and what his workflow is. He's got a big office full of people running around, working on different workstations. So I was curious, how does that work? We all know how it works on a single desk like this, but how does it work in a production environment? So there's that. So definitely check that out at thisweekinphoto.com/talks. And then our newest show, Street Focus, hosted by Valerie Jardin, just launched. You can check that out at thisweekinphoto.com/street. She just did an interview with famous street photographer Thomas Lothard. So definitely check that out. You can check out all the shows that we have available at thisweekinphoto.com/subscribe. All right, guys, let's jump into story number 1, and this is pretty interesting. So we're going to do a little damage control here, I think, because I think there's some misinformation floating around the internet, so we're going to take this opportunity to correct it. So essentially, the rumor floating around is if a shutter clicks, and this is what Bruce put in the notes here, it says if a shutter clicks in the forest and someone from the U.S. Forest Service isn't around to hear it, do you have to pay $1,500, according to a story on Photographer, which is Chris Gampett's outfit over there. You might think that if you just kind of glossed over this. But after digging a little deeper, it's a little different. So according to Photographer, he says, you need to get a permit. You may need to get a permit soon. In fact, according to the Washington Post, that should have been your first clue. In the U.S. Forest Service is saying that photographers, even those with just cell phones that want to photograph the lands, will need to purchase a permit for $1,500. This goes for both filming and still photography. Now, a lot of people were kind of up in arms about this, but we dug a little deeper, and we found that the new measure applies to commercial filming, and it's designed to basically close some loopholes that people were using to exploit the previous legislation. So it's not designed to stop normal people like us to, from using the parks or taking pictures and all that stuff. It's designed to make people that are doing commercial things out there accountable, and they have to pay. So the guidelines were Modern Hiker basically broke down the highlights of the measure. So number 1, you have to stay within certain content guidelines, so nothing nefarious. You can't cause damage to any of the national resources. You can't disrupt the public's use and enjoyment of the area, and you can't do anything that poses a public or health or safety risk. So as long as you're within those guidelines, snap away. So I'm going to throw this to you first, Evgeny. You, like you just said, you've been basically crossing the planet, I think, and up and down the coast of the California here and up in Oregon. So this story aside, right? So he's kind of diffused that people can go take photos all they want, but shifting the topic a little bit over to when you're in one of these national parks, like what do you do? Like, do you like when you're on one of these adventures, do you just go put yourself out there and hope the photo hits you, or do you do research, or what's your process there?
It's twofold. So of course you need some luck to make sure that there's going to be some sun and some clouds and it's going to hit the right way. But it is also a lot of preparation. So one of the examples that we were scouting for a location in Grand Teton for the sunrise, and we arrived there after sunset, looking around where we want to set our tripods. And I was asking my friend, like, why do you need to do this? Like, we just, show at sunrise or like half an hour before, just put our tripods. And he's like, no, when you go there, you will see a lineup of photographers, like 50 or 60 people. So if you're arriving half an hour before sunrise, you'll be the one snapping photos somewhere on the top with your iPhone because there's no other space. So if you really want to set up, you have to be an hour in advance. So next morning, we woke up at 5, came there at like around 6. It is hour and 20 minutes before sunrise. There's only 15 people there. There's cars arriving, there's people arriving, so we set, like our place was empty, so we set our tripods where we wanted. And, for the next half an hour, more and more cars started arriving. And in the end, people were snapping photos of other people because it was like incredible line. Every spot was taken.
Feeding frenzy, yeah.
Yeah, and when you see this, you're like, oh, yeah, I get it. Like, you really have to know your spot. And some people were setting up in a different spot where we been before, the day before, and we're like, no, we don't want to shoot there. So like the stuff that they're shooting, they're interested in, but we're not. So it was kind of like weird in a way that everybody has their own way and vision, and it's still the same mountain and the same reflection in the end. So just the different processing, right? But you're gonna prepare for those.
Yeah, it's preparation, right? I mean, it's preparation. I was talking to Jay and Verena Patel about travel photography and their process, and the main thing I took away from that discussion was preparation. Especially if you're leaving and you're going to a different country or something, it's research, not from the standpoint of weather conditions, places to stay, dangers in the area, other shots that people have done in those areas that you might want to try to do something similar. So inspiration, all that stuff, right?
And usually for landscapes, everybody wants to copy Ansel Adams. Or at least I want to copy Ansel Adams first, and then once I do that, I just go and venture, find my own shots. But that's the first kind of like inclination. You go there, you search for 100px or something, find the photos that you like, copy them or save them to your favorites, and then just try to get the same kind of shot. But one of the I think craziest examples is the Japanese gardens in Portland, Oregon. That famous tree that everybody's shooting. And the first time it took me 2 hours to find the tree. I'm like, where the hell is this tree? And it's like so small and it's so unnoticeable that you wouldn't know. You would just like going and like circling and like looking for a tree. And so sometimes it just becomes funny. You're like in a small little garden and you cannot find one tree.
I've done that in Joshua Tree. I walked 9 miles looking for this one thing I had seen. In fact, I think it was on 500 PX. I had seen a photo of it. And I walked 9 miles, and when I gave up, walked back to my car, it was 100 yards from my car the other direction.
It's usually pretty close, right, to the parking lot.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So Craig, that said, so the type of photography that you do, there may be some nudes in there, or models, for example. How does that work how do you scout locations, and are you able to use national parks if you want to do that kind of thing?
Well, so there's a difference between national parks and this national forest system thing. I actually read the national forest, what this whole debate was about, and it turns out that they say specifically you do need a permit if you are going to take photographs in a location where members of the general public are not allowed, where there might be additional administrative costs, or if you're using models, sets, or props.
And that's that $1,500 permit?
Well, it does. No fee is listed there. It just says you need to get a special use permit. It doesn't talk about the fees. Now the fines have been listed as $1,000, so you're better off not to get the permit and just pay the fine if you get caught. But
there you go. Yeah, at the very least, you save $500, right?
So as far as national parks, there is no federal law against nudity. There's only state laws against nudity. So you're allowed to do fine art nudes in state parks legally, but the rangers can, if there's a lot of people around or whatever, they can ask you to move. Yeah. If you're disturbing others.
Right, of course.
Now, in national parks, kind of the rule of thumb is if you get out of your car and if you walk a mile, you will never see another soul.
Yeah.
Right. The people just do not walk. They park wherever the pullouts are or the parking lots are, and they go a mile in. So if you go beyond that, you won't see anybody.
Got it. Hey, no man's land, untouched, and private, your own private studio in there.
Exactly.
And what are you shooting with when you do these kind of shoots, Craig?
I take my Canon 5D Mark II whenever I'm doing model shoots. Yeah. Mirrorless I reserve for street photography and travel, that sort of thing. But if I'm shooting models, it's going to be with my DLSR.
Got it. And Evgeny, what about you? What are you shooting with?
I got really upset. I got the Nikon D10, the new and fancy one, and
you got that one, really?
Yes, and I really wanted to get into long exposure, so I got the big stopper from Lee to shoot like 6 to 10 minutes exposures, and I got those
neutral density filter, right?
Yep. And in the end, what happened? My camera experiences that white dot issue that was pretty highly publicized. Yeah. And it looks horrible, and none of the software can take it out, and you just have to service that. So all my photos in original resolution have a lot of weird white dots everywhere.
Hey, just incorporate that into your style. Just, it's intentional. It's it's a Chabatarov look.
Yeah. So I've been shooting a lot with that, and have had my Canon 6D as a backup camera. Didn't even take it out, so it was in the bag at all times. So Nikon for now.
Nice. Cool. All right. There's a lot of stuff. You and I, Evgeny, have to do like a separate catch-up interview on 500px and the stuff that's going on over there. Every time I look up, there's something new. Like the latest thing was groups and changes to groups and all this stuff. So we're gonna have to talk about that.
Which are great, by the way. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you should join my groups.
So how do people, like, if they want to join your group? Does it have like a simple URL that people can go to?
Yeah, you can set up any URL. So I knew that you set up a group and you can have it as TWiP or This Week in Photography or whatever you like.
Yeah, that's what I did. I think it's This Week in Photo or TWiP. I don't know. I have to look.
You just search for it, right?
Yeah,
so get it there.
You will find it. Cool. Well, I'm always happy to see you guys innovating because you're always like crunching on stuff and making cool things. So thank you for that. All right, folks, let's. I want to thank our second sponsor for this episode of This Week in Photo, and that's our good friends over at FreshBooks. All right, story number 2 here is about Adobe. So Adobe announced Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements 13. Now, the interesting thing about this, now obviously there's some new features in there, like they've got new social features where you can easily create your Facebook cover photos and educational features in there. They've got like guided tasks or wizards that walk you through different things. So clearly targeted at the beginner and not so much the advanced amateur or professional photographer. But the cool thing is there's 2 cool things. Both applications are strangely available as a boxed product. So Adobe, the company that just recently moved full force over into subscriptions with the Creative Cloud, has spun these products off outside of the cloud and basically put them on the ground, in a box. And you can buy them for $100 each, or in a bundle for like $150. So that's pretty cool. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about is the idea of Photoshop being too much for many people. And is this the right direction for beginning photographers to go, or should they pony up and learn the industry's de facto standard that is Photoshop. Craig, what do you think?
I think this is a good way to go for beginners. Photoshop is such a steep learning curve. It's going to put a lot of people off before they even get started. And I see, the elements being an easier entry and hopefully going to, get people used to some of the features that you then find in Photoshop, make the transition much easier.
Yeah.
It seems like these are kind of targeted, both Premiere and this are kind of targeted at iPhoto and iMovie. Mm-hmm. Making it easy to do a lot of simple things. In fact, reading about some of the things it did, I kind of wish Photoshop would do some of those.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Make it a lot easier, right? I don't need all the things in Premiere to do my video editing. Mm-hmm. I need something simple, so I may pick that up. Give it a try.
Yeah, and why not? Lightweight, and it's not restricted by a cloud username and password, right?
Right.
Evgeny, what do you think about this? I wanted to ask you about this from the standpoint of cloud services, like 500px. Cloud is weird, right? So it's a service that lives in on a server, right, or a bunch of servers in the case of 500px. But when you look at this, we've talked about this on the show before, like in the case of Google with their incorporation of NIC technology into Google Plus Photos and. These online. Before that there was Aviary, which I think is partnered with Yahoo for Yahoo Photos and all that stuff. So we've got all these different tools out there online that let you do stuff, and then we have these more powerful, I would argue, more powerful tools that are on the desktop that let you do other things. Are we seeing a merger of these kind of tools, or are we going to move into the cloud exclusively, or what do you think?
It looks like that. It's going to the cloud and it's going there pretty quickly. I was actually really surprised how quickly and efficiently Adobe moved everything, or like almost everything, into the cloud, because it's a huge transition for such a huge company. Yeah. And like everybody in our company uses Creative Cloud, right? Like myself, I use just the Lightroom and Photoshop. Somebody has the full suite of products, so it's just kind of like all over the place. What I feel the elements and the Premiere elements targeted for is actually other countries. So like outside of North America, like where there may be less reliable internet, so your Creative Cloud just wouldn't work when you need it. Yeah. And it's more budget friendly. So even the Photoshop package that I have is $10 a month. So most people don't need to upgrade their software every year, so they can keep it for 3-5 years. Right. And there's been a lot of rise in cheaper software for photo editing, especially on the Mac. Like in the Mac App Store, you can find like $30-40 applications that will like apply a few filters, do a little this and that, which is probably like enough for everyone. Yeah. Because I'm satisfied with the iPhone apps for most of my editing, and I don't want to go back to Photoshop and fix something in layers because this just takes too much time, right? Yeah. So if something is easier over time but produces like 90% of the results that I want, I would be happy with that. If I can just like live my life and travel more instead of just Photoshopping stuff.
Yeah, instead of diving into layers and curves and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we talked about the video. It's even worse, right? When you're video. So same story. If somebody can do it for me, or if there's some magical program that can take it 90% there, I'll take it.
Yeah, I look at this stuff and I think back to, and maybe you don't know, Evgeny, but Craig, I know you know this because you're old enough.
I'm the old man here. Yes.
Yeah. So back in the day, when Photoshop was new, but even back in the enlarger days, when we actually had to project that light stuff through a negative to photosensitive paper, there were all these tools that we have on our phone and iPads and Macs. That's like magic, to have these tools back then in your pocket would have been like indistinguishable from magic, right?
Exactly.
So like when Evgeny was saying, I want to go back to just being able to have fun with photography instead of becoming an engineer to pull out the detail in my photos. That resonates. What do you think, Craig? I mean, do we have too much power in these tools now?
Well, yes, there's although, but sometimes you need that power, right? The challenge I found is I resisted for a long time using iPhone apps or even using Lightroom to edit my photos because I thought I can make them look so much better in Photoshop. But it was so time consuming, I never did it.
Right.
So, right, a few of them would get done, but I'm now finding that anything that, as he said, anything that saves you time and helps you, get the job done is valuable, right? To speed up that workflow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. It's speed, and like with iOS 8 and the new extensions that they've incorporated into this latest version of the operating system, it allows you to hand off, or applications that are running on the operating system, it can hand off data to another app. So you could do some changes in one, add some clouds, a little vignetting, and then spit it off into another app to do a little bit more of this and that, and sort of daisy chain your way through. Instead of, with iOS 7, the flow was make some changes, save the file, launch the other app, go find that file, load it in, make more changes, and keep going down the line. So now it hands off intelligently. So, I mean, Craig, in your world, in the things that you do you think there will be a time when you could go strictly mobile? So iPad, the next version of the iPad, or...
Well, I am certainly doing that now with my travel photography. When I was in Rome last week, I had my Micro Four Thirds, my Olympus OMD camera with the Wi-Fi. I downloaded. I didn't take a laptop. I just took my iPad. I downloaded images. I would edit them, and I would post them right then and there on Google+, Facebook, wherever. So for that sort of photography, yes. For the model photography, I don't see that happening anytime soon. There's just too many things I do to the photo to make it look the way I want it to look that I just can't do in the iOS apps.
Yevgeny, what about you? So again, putting on your 500px hat, a lot of people, as we've talked about on the show before, they are initially intimidated by the quality of work that's on 500px because it's not your Flickr, right? Where there's quality work on Flickr, but then there's a lot of not there too. On 500px, people tend to put their best foot forward, get dressed up for the party a little bit better. That said, can you foresee a day where the images that people put up on 500px could have strictly come like from Craig's workflow, where you have your Micro Four Thirds camera, you shoot it, you suck them into the tablet, you edit it, and you put them on 500px, and they're good enough for 500px?
It's crazy because I already do that on my photo trip. So I've been posting photos to Instagram. It is set up together with my account so that every photo gets posted on 500px as well. And did we lose you for a second?
Just keep going.
I don't know if he's gonna hear that.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
You're like semi-disappeared.
Yeah, for some reason I got booted out. Google Plus did not like that question. So
yeah, but it's already happening. So I had about 60 photos from Instagram that I posted on 500px, edited with Visco, edited with a bunch of other apps that I just used on my phone during long drives. I didn't feel like editing real photos, so I just edited the iPhone photos. And if you're in the right in the right place in the right time, the iPhone is really capable camera. You can get really great photos if you wake up as everybody else at 5 a.m. and there for the sunrise.
Right.
You'll get beautiful colors, right? It's just that most people with cell phones will appear at that spot during midday when there's harsh light and like harsh shadows. So just get there early and then you'll get beautiful photos. Same is for everything else. Like somebody was showing iPhone photo shot with like a model with a reflector. If you have a reflector, you'll get 10 times better photo with an iPhone than without the reflector. So it's just like these little pieces and little tools that photographers use anyway. If you apply them to mobile photography, it will enhance the quality 10 times easily. So I think it's worth 500px.
Yeah, yeah. Craig, what do you think? I mean, you said you're not going to get to a level in the near term where you could do model type stuff on a mobile device. So what is your flow? So when you do, you say you went out to the Joshua Tree and you
Right.
came back with a bunch of images. You load them into Lightroom and edit, or you load them into Lightroom and then fire them off to Photoshop and run.
I do Lightroom, load them into Lightroom, do my pics. I will do some basics editing in Lightroom if need be, maybe bringing up the shadows a little bit, or lowering the black levels I tend to do in Lightroom, lens correction, and then I put it into Photoshop. In Photoshop, I will then do skin retouching. I like the Nik filters for doing tonal contrast. I tend to do almost every image through that to get the background a little more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And I'll spend typically anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours per image.
Wow.
In Photoshop.
See, that is crazy. I hear, I did an interview with Sue Bryce, who's a amazing photographer out of New Zealand, and she granted she's been doing this stuff for a long time, and she's like knows her way around Photoshop because she used to be a retoucher and all this stuff. Right. But she I think she told me during that interview less than 10 minutes per image, and her images are insane.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. I mean, I will do that with some images. I mean, if it's strictly a model in front of a seamless background, I can 10 minutes is all I need to do the skin retouching, brighten the eyes a little bit, sharpen, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But if they're out in the environment, I typically want to, clean up that water bottle that's over in the corner.
Right. Right. Are we going to get to a point now? I mean, these cameras on these phones, and this is for both of you guys. So the cameras on these phones and tablets are just getting better and better. The latest rev of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, and then we've got cameras from Nokia, and or camera phones from Nokia, and then the whole lineup of Android stuff. There's just insanity out there in terms of how good these cameras are. And many people are arguing that the iPhone camera is the best, especially the one in the 6 Plus, because it has optical image stabilization and all that built into it. So are we getting to a point, you guys think, where it is feasible to kind of leave your mirrorless camera at home? I'm going to say. What do you think?
I have a couple of comments to that. The first, just recently I saw the photo shoot by Jeremy Coward.
Yes.
He was shooting commercial work with an iPhone.
Yeah, the 6 Plus, yep.
And a few months back, I've seen a commercial shot, I think it was for Bentley, on iPhone as well, and edited on the iPad while driving the Bentley. So that was kind of like really, posh commercial, but it just kind of shows you that it is possible if you give those tools to professionals, right? Who can set up the light, who can set up everything else, whether it's makeup or dollies, light and everything else. It doesn't matter if you're shooting with an iPhone or a fancy camera, you'll get good results. It's just like most people would not have the money or the opportunity to set up those expensive shoots.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head because, talking to you guys, this reminds me of the whole shift from, remember the whole DSLR revolution video, and, Vincent LaFerray's video came out, Revelry, and everyone was hot on DSLR videos, the wave of the future.
That was revolutionary at the time, yeah.
Yeah, it was, but then you look at this, like I did an interview with Vincent, and we were talking about how, you have your camera in the middle, but then it's like all the stuff they tax onto it to get the shot, it becomes like Megatron,
and costs 10 times what the camera costs. All the accessories you have to add to it,
You're like, where's the camera? And there's the camera. I see it, And the same for iPhone, like the commercial you're talking about, Evgeny. It's like there's probably an iPhone in there somewhere, and amongst the gear kind of exoskeleton. So. Yeah, so I think that's the takeaway for a lot of people. It's like, that kind of stuff is possible with consumer level devices like an iPhone, but don't take for granted that you're going to go to Apple, get your iPhone, and go shoot, Transformers the next day, with your iPhone. You got a little bit more kit in order to make that happen, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. I want to see where this stuff goes.
But for me, my when I was traveling just now, I was thinking that next time I just want to take an iPhone and go with that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have an iPhone only road trip. I think it's just going to be something new. It will change my perception of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're there now. I mean, we're there. Which are you? Did you upgrade to the latest iPhone, Evgeny?
Not yet. I'm on the 5.
You're on the 5? Yeah, yeah. What about you, Craig? Are you?
I'm on the 5 as well. Yeah, haven't upgraded yet.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait for the what do I say? For the settlers to take the arrows with these dot releases on iOS 8 and bending phones and all that, and I'll wait and I'll swoop in and get the good stuff.
Okay, there you go.
Cool. All right, guys, let's move on. We got a lot more stuff to talk about in this episode. Where are we at? So I want to also thank our sponsor, another sponsor for this episode of TWiP, and that's our good friends over at lynda.com. All right, let's jump into some listener Q&A. This is where we answer a question that has been on our listeners' minds. So Leon asks, he said, is there a way to save the RAW files from an iPhone instead of the iPhone only saving JPEGs? I find the noise really horrible when viewed on anything but the iPhone screen. Evgeny, I'm going to say I think the answer is no, that the thing generates JPEGs. You may know something different. What do you think?
There's definitely a question for me, because a year ago I wrote an article about that. The only thing that Apple should do with their camera is open up the RAW file for other apps, so that you can take it and you can process that because the power is enough, and then you can get all the details, or like more details and more processing power from every shot. So it is not possible. You still get the JPEGs between the apps, even in iOS 8. What is possible is that if you get the manual control app, like the manual or the Camera Plus, and there's probably a lot of other coming out pretty soon. We're working on one too. It allows you to set it up on a tripod, put the ISO specifically on the lowest setting, and get your long exposure shot. If you can, right? If it's something steady like a landscape, so it will be possible. And I tried it, and it works really great. You get indeed much cleaner shots, even in low light situations. You just have to have a steady hand or a steady tripod to go with that.
Love it. Yeah.
Now,
go ahead, Craig.
There are a couple apps you can get that will grab the image before it goes through Apple's JPEG compressor.
Which would basically be the RAW file.
Well, right? It's still not technically RAW. You don't have access to the actual sensor data. It still has gone through one stage of processing. But there's two apps. One's called Digital Negative, and the other is called 645 Pro. And both of those they call it RAW developed, is what they will do. They output TIFF files.
Okay.
Well, the 645 Pro outputs a TIFF file. Digital Negative does an actual DNG file. And they're grabbing the separate R, G, and B channels and all the data that's available there to combine them.
Oh, that's killer. I had no idea.
It gives you. It doesn't give you a lot more dynamic range necessarily, but it does supposedly help with the noise issue.
Yeah. And if you're trying to do semi-pro stuff, then yeah, absolutely. Why not try those, right?
But I think the answer is Android has announced the support for RAW files.
Yes.
So the new Android will come out with RAW support. You can go nuts with that and build cameras and just get your real RAW files.
There you go. Yeah, if there was just a way to get the camera out of the iPhone 6 Plus and onto the Moto X, that would be awesome. Right?
The camera, see how fun it is? Like the most important thing in the phone is the camera.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is, and that's for a lot of people. I mean, these cameras are the most popular cameras in many places. Do you guys track that data? I mean, on 500px? Yeah. How popular is iPhone on there? On Flickr, we know it's #1.
We have an app. It's called Insights by 500px, and you can check all the stats, which cameras are popular right now, which cameras are popular at all times. And it's shifting a little bit. I think that Canon 5D Mark II or Mark III is the most popular camera right now. But it's kind of like it gives you a list of cameras that you can see and track by categories and by type.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Hey, Craig, I want to challenge you. Okay. I want you, when you get your new iPhone, presumably you're gonna get one. When you get your new iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, I want you to do a full model shoot with just that camera, and then post it on TWiP so that we can see what you're able to do.
I'll gladly do that. Sure.
All right. In the hands of a master, that should be like magic, right?
And I'm sure it will look great.
Yeah.
So cool. And Evgeny, I should throw the same gauntlet down to you because you're Mr. Road Tripper, right? So
I already posted my photos with an iPhone on 500px.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was looking at them. They look really nice. You did got some great shots there.
Yeah, I don't know. So not to make this the iPhone show, obviously, I know you listeners that don't use iPhone are like, okay, move on from that already. But the camera in these things are crazy, right? So the only thing that's making me want to get that 6 Plus is the optical image stabilization on that particular camera. So I don't know if that's enough to push me over the edge. And get the larger phone. What do you guys think? Are you gonna
get the 6?
The 6, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like just thinking about getting the 6 Plus. I already have buyer's remorse.
Just thinking about it. Oh, good.
I have thinker's remorse. So yeah, I think it's gonna.
If it had a hot shoe, so I could hook up a pocket wizard, maybe I'd consider it.
Yeah. That may be coming in the 6 Plus.
And a jack for a mic. I want a good audio as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it has that, right? You can get audio in there.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, guys, we're almost into the show here. Our last sponsor for this episode is our good friends over at Squarespace.com. All right, let's jump into the Picks of the Week segment. This is the segment where you guys can pick something to recommend to the TWiP audience as long as it is somehow related to photography. Evgeny, I'm going to let you go first. What is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is pretty weird, but kind of related and relevant, I guess. It is a fancy, old-school Russian portrait lens. It's called Helios 40-2 85mm f1.5. It produces amazing bokeh. If you've never seen this lens before, just Google that, put it in Google Images, put it on 500px, put it on Flickr, whatever. You will see amazing bokeh behind those portraits usually, and that's kind of like the whole lens structure that allows you to do that. Yeah. A friend of mine gifted me the lens on a trip, so just yesterday I was doing a fashion photo shoot with this lens, and the results are just like incredible. So
wow.
And it's pretty inexpensive for 1.5. You can probably get it on eBay around $300 to $400.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah, it's on Amazon. The Russian Soviet Helios 40-2 85mm for $544, and they've got it for $499.
Have you checked the photos? Like you'll see, it's just the incredible bokeh. It's just like really few lenses make it possible. So it's really great.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. I wonder if they have a micro four thirds adapter for that thing. Well, I guess I have a Nikon adapter, and they've got one that's designed for Nikon.
Mine is directly Nikon, so a lot of old lenses are like specifically almost like FD type, so you can put it on a not FD, FD is Canon, the F type, so you can just
the F mount.
Yeah. So you just buy it and mount it directly.
Love it, and of course it's going to be all manual, but.
It's all manual. It's pretty hard to focus. You have to be really careful. A lot of my shots were out of focus, but when you get it, it's perfect.
I love it. All right. God, it's spending my money, man. Stop.
I'll bring you to SF, so we'll play with that.
Yeah, cool. That's a great pick, man. Thank you for that. All right, Craig, what do you got for us? More money, let me guess.
Yeah, well, so I'll do a cheap one first. So I originally my pick was going to be an ebook, but I looked back and Martin Bailey recommended it back in June. But I'm going to re-recommend it, and then I'll give you another pick as well.
Okay.
So this is the Beautiful Anarchy by David Duchemin. It's a $10 ebook. I got the Kindle version off of Amazon. It is just so inspiring. It talks about just vision and the craft and the struggles that artists have, photographers as artists, and it really spoke to me. I've read it twice already, and I'm going to read it a third time.
Wow. See, that says something. When you read them twice, that's yeah, I'll be buying that definitely.
Great book. So my other pick is a lens. It's the for Micro Four Thirds. It's the Panasonic 35 to 100 millimeter f2.8 Lumix zoom lens. It's a very new lens. I rented it from Borrowed Lenses for my trip to Rome, and just loved the images I got from it. And I'm going to be buying one as soon as I can find one. They're back ordered most places at the moment, but
I love that lens. I have that lens. It's part of the one of the kind of must-have lenses, the pro lenses for Micro Four Thirds, because of the crop factor in Micro Four Thirds, the 35 to 100 f2.8 is essentially equivalent to a 70 to 200 on the full frame sensor. So everyone knows that that's kind of the bread and butter focal length zoom range. Then you go wider and a little shorter or whatever. But that's like the workhorse lens.
Yeah, I had it on the camera all the time. Yeah,
it's rock solid too. Love that lens. Love it. Cool. And how much is that? That's cheap, right?
$1,500.
You beat Yevgeny by $1,000. Nice.
But you don't have to do it because you've already bought
it about the price?
He was like, "Oh, I got something for you."
I was traveling with 600 mil f.4. From Borrowed Lenses as well. It's a huge monster. Mostly, it intimidates everybody around you. If you will,
well, that's why you get that, yeah.
And the only shots you can make on it is in Yellowstone, right? Like bisons and animals.
Yeah.
It's not a landscape. It's not a landscape lens. It's just like
unless you're trying to get the moon, get it.
For my model shoots, I use it, but I have a walkie-talkie.
Exactly. Yeah.
A little to the left.
Yes. Yeah. Turn to the right. Yeah. Perfect. Right there. Click. Yeah. Wow. And what is that lens? You said that's a 600 mil lens. I wonder what that runs new. Probably like what, $3,000 or something?
Oh, no, I'm thinking it's over 10, 15,000.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Craziness. That's crazy. Yeah, I went to Yellowstone on a workshop a couple of years ago, and I too rented lenses like that. But I did something really dangerous. I rented these expensive lenses, and I had them shipped to my hotel room, so I wouldn't have to carry them because there's these small flights that go into Bozeman, right? So I didn't want to have to put these expensive lenses in the luggage compartment on this little puddle jumper, so I shipped them, and they made it there. Totally fine.
Yeah, that's what I use. The same. Just ship it to your hotel, and when you're done, you just drop it off in the hotel and say like, "Hey, just like let the UPS truck or FedEx truck just pick it up."
Yep.
And it's kind of crazy because you're living in a box that looks like a box, and anybody can pick it up. Not many dollars inside.
Yeah. That you will be liable for if it somehow goes missing, right?
I need to check actually if it.
Make it back, yeah.
But yeah. Hopefully it works.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good tip. I mean, that's like a bonus pick of the week or tip of the week, and that's to rent lenses and ship them to your destination, and of course with insurance. And then when you're done there, just give it back to the hotel, ship it back to Borrowed Lenses or Lens Rentals, and go on with your day.
And saves you a couple days on the rental fee too, right? You don't have to get it before your trip and get it, have it for the day after your trip to return. So
yeah.
Just ship it for one location for just a couple of days. That's it. Much cheaper. Yeah.
Especially for those specialty monster lenses like that one that you don't want to be carrying around anyway. And it's that's amazing. Thank goodness for these rental places, man. I mean, they've changed the way that a lot of people shoot because like that particular lens if it wasn't for these lens rental places you're getting, you probably would not have gotten shots with that lens.
You know what? While we were on the trip, there was a new Sigma that was announced, 150 to 600 mil. And that seems like a really nice replacement because it's going to be cheaper. It's not as, like you wouldn't get as beautiful bokeh out of that, but it is carryable. So you can actually pick it up. And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants more portability. Nobody wants to carry more heavy equipment. Everybody wants like micro four thirds or anything less, and less, right?
Yeah.
So.
Hey, the longest lens I have in my micro four thirds bag is a 100 to 300, which is a 200 to 600 equivalent. But you know, optics notwithstanding, it's not going to be as sharp as that 600 mil lens that you rented. But you know, at least I'll get a shot with it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how often do you use that lens?
I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So yeah. See, that's the thing. I use the that lens that you have, the 35 to 100, mostly for everything. And then I have, where is it? Is it over here? No, I have a 45, actually the 42.5 Nocticron, which is the best. That lens, I just want to put on a pillow next to me because it's just like, it's got that heft and that Leica click is just. It's like photographer catnip or something. I don't know. I love it. So, all right, guys, we're at the end of the show. We could just do this all day.
We could. That's great.
Well, Evgeny, what about you? Where can people go to see some of these shots that you did? Maybe join your group on 500px?
That is going to be really, really boring. But again, it's 500px.com/my last name. I wouldn't even spell it, just look it up. Or join the groups. I'm in many groups, and we are having some really good discussions, especially on landscape photography or like where to rent helicopters to fly around San Francisco. With no doors, like do all the nice things. So it's all in the groups. So yeah, just find me there.
I need to hang with you. I'm going to do helicopter rides around San Francisco.
He's like international man.
Well, you're going to split the cost, but
absolutely.
It is well worth it. Next time I'm going to San Francisco, I'm doing that again. It's just incredible.
What did that cost?
It was slightly over $800 for slightly over an hour, so it's like $600 an hour for 3 people. Robinson R44 small helicopter, no doors, so you have full flexibility to move around. You can do whatever you want. Awesome. And it is super photo friendly, so you can ask the pilot just to freeze wherever you want, or like do 5 circles over some places that you want to circle. So basically, whatever you want.
Were you able to get some aerials of the Golden Gate Bridge in that area?
The Golden Gate wasn't too well lit because it was on the sunset.
Oh, okay.
There was on my 500px account. There's a bunch of photos from San Francisco aerial, and that was like the best start of the trip ever because that was on the first day we were starting the trip, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna do a helicopter ride. So that was perfect.
Yeah. All right, that's on my list. Craig, maybe we should split it.
I'm game.
Let's do it. 300 each. We can do it. Let's do it.
Or was it 600?
It's
800
600 for 3 people or 300 for 1.
Okay, yeah, so I'm in.
Maybe a little cheaper, you know. If you take other people flashcards and shoot for them, you can.
No.
No, it's
Craig, we're going. You and me.
Okay, got it.
All right, guys. Craig, so while we're on you, where can people go to look at some of the work that you got or those galleries that you have showing?
So everything is on my website, craigcolvinphotography.com. You can also find me on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, all the regular haunts.
Awesome.
When is the Palo Alto gallery opening?
I have some is in the one gallery. They're up right now, the Keeble and Shuckett gallery. Mm-hmm. The other was we're hanging on the 11th of October, and then a reception 2 weeks after that.
11th of October. Is that during Photo Plus?
No, yes. Oh no, that's before Photo Plus.
Okay, then I'll come. Okay.
All right. The reception is October 25th.
Okay. So perfect. Done.
All right.
Awesome. And maybe we'll go straight from there to the helicopter ride, and then
There we go.
And
Sounds
then
great.
to the Photo Plus.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time today. It's been an awesome show once again. I really appreciate it. And listeners, and watchers, if you want to check out our website, please do so over at thisweekinphoto.com. It's our brand new, awesome website. Check it out. Let us know what you think. And with that, it's time to take that lens cap off.